Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to go over some Kizers. They have another drop coming tonight, August 8th, 2024 at 10 p.m. EDT time or 9 Central Standard Time. And I like almost every single knife in this drop. I did not expect to, but there's two that really stood out to me. We're going to focus on those more than the rest, but first we have the Kizer Bulldog. Now, any of these that interest you, I will have them all linked down below, but they won't be available till 9 Central Standard Time. So I will do a community post if you're interested. And if you're already planning on buying one and you want to help support the channel, you can use my links. That helps pay for my testing materials and stuff like that. If not, no biggie. But the Bulldog is another show design. He's the one that did, I think, was it the Doberman? And one thing I can say about him is he knows how to get a knife ergonomic. That is one thing that stood out about this design. It's a more compact, medium-sized knife at 7.22 inches long. It has a 3-inch sheep's foot blade, and this one's in 154 cm steel. This is the only one that has a different steel than the rest. It's got 0.11 inch stock, and it's got a nice high flat grind. You have two sets of functional jimping. You got this back here that wraps around here if you're coming a little bit closer. Then you have some very functional jimping right here if you want to control that tip or get some pressure down on that tip. This is going to be a very versatile blade shape because you have a very slight belly to that tip. So you're going to be able to easily cut on a flat cutting surface, and you can get almost the entire edge down because of the negative angle you have right here. The way this comes up, that edge sits below the handle. So in a pinch grip, you can get the entire edge down, do rocking cuts, but it's also going to shine at doing those utility cuts, drag cuts, in-hand cuts are going to be great. Pretty much anything that you're going to throw at this thing, it's going to do a great job. And that's what I noticed whenever I did all the testing. I'll tell you what, this one kind of wowed me whenever I started doing the testing. Every one of the knives that they sent me on this run, and they're always sharp, but these were on another level sharp. I've always liked their 154 cm steel. They do a great job with it, and it seems like they've been doing majority of their steels at like 60 to 62. Most of these are at 60 to 61. All of it, I'm down for it. This one has good edge geometry, around 18 thousandths behind the edge. And like I said, that paired with a super sharp edge, this thing performed so well. I actually enjoyed doing the rope cutting, and you don't hardly ever hear me say that. It cut like 150 cuts, absolutely no issues whatsoever, and I could have done way more than what I did. Then everything else I did was a joy because it just has that blade shape that is so useful for pretty much anything you do. Not to mention the version that I have has these grippy canvas micarta scales. They're nice and grippy, and they have the material sticking out so they're nice and soft. And the way he shaped this handle and the way this cants down, it fits like a glove for my hand. And these are flat scales, but they fit my hand very, very nice. I had no hot spots. I felt locked in. I could choke up if I wanted to. I can choke back if I wanted to. Just a joy to use this knife. Along with the outstanding performance of this one, the action on this one is excellent as well. This is a clutch lock, an adjustable crossbar lock. You have 3 different settings if you don't know that. And it's riding on ceramic bearings, so it's very smooth. So you have thumb stud only on this one, or you could use that crossbar lock. It's an easy reverse flicker, thumb flicker, slow roller, crossbar locker. And if you want to, you can pinch the blade and do a little drop down. The lockup on this one is rock solid. When I say I have absolutely no movement any direction, very, very nice job on the geometry of the lock. Even though it's a wider knife altogether, it's still nice and lightweight. Coming in at 3.5 ounces, they have partial inset stainless steel liners in there, heavily skeletonized to bring the weight down. So even though you have a wide chunk of 154 cm steel, you still kept it at a manageable weight. All your hardware is Torx T8, and you have a reversible deep carry pocket clip. They inset the clip into the micarta along with the countersunk screws. Excellent job. They really made sure they hit everything on this one. You have a partial G10 backspace. I'm guessing that's G10. It's either G10 or aluminum. Might be aluminum. Yeah, all in all, this one, outstanding. My favorite of the bunch. It's between this one and the next one I'm about to show. They're similar in a lot of ways, but if I had to pick one, it would be this one. And the fact that these come in at $69 on the early bird sale, I think that's a no-brainer. If you like what you're seeing, I can promise you it's a nice, comfortable knife, especially if you have medium-sized hands. I can't speak for the large, extra large hand guys, but comfortable for my hands. I think it looks nice. You don't like micarta, they also have a variation with looks like black textured aluminum scales with pink accents. And here's a size reference with the Ontario Rat 1 and 2. As you can see, it's almost identical to the Rat 2 in length. And when it comes to my nitpicks and complaints on this one, the only thing I really have is I wish they would have given us more of a sharpening choil. You can see that plunge comes all the way down right here, so it's already starting to flare out, especially being that you already have this choil area. You even got some jumps right there, just notice that. So I would have liked to see that. It's, you know, easily fixable. Let's see. Yeah, easily fixable. The crossbar lock catches it way up here. So if you wanted to cut something in there yourself, that would be very, very easy to do. That's my only complaint on the knife. Other than that, I think it's an absolute winner. Next up, we have the Kizer Helmet, and it's in my number 2 favorite of this drop. And this is designed by Azo, their in-house designer. You have a medium-sized knife at 7.59 inches. You have a 3.17-inch sheep's foot blade of Nitro V stainless steel. It says they rock well on it from 60 to 60.5, and I can believe that. They pretty much all have 0.098-inch stock, so super thin blade stock. This one has a decent height flat grind, and it comes down to around 17 thousandths behind the edge, and it was sharpened at 18 degrees per side. So when I say this one performed outstanding, this one's going to be more of a utility blade shape because you have a little bit less belly than the Bulldog does. You can still do some cuts on a flat cutting surface, but you're only going to get about a half of the blade onto the surface before you hit this flipper tab. But this thing is really going to shine at the utility cuts, you know, the fine detailed precision cuts with that tip. It's going to be a scalpel up there. The geometry on this blade allows it to slice very, very well. I have the black coated, and as you can see, my black coated blade is starting to look pretty rough. I don't love the black all that much at all. I would much prefer a black wash. I think it looks a lot better, hides wear a lot better, but my preference is their raw stonewash finish. This one has some nice functional jimping up top, and it even has a decent sharpening choil. You should get 3-4 sharpenings before this will widen up in the back right here. I sharpened this one up after I finished all the testing, and it hasn't started widening up on me yet. So like I said, I think I'd have about 2, maybe even 3 sharpenings before that'll happen. This one, it performed outstanding as well. Got to 130 cuts. If I wouldn't have ran out of the piece I cut, I would have definitely been able to go further. But like I always say, I'm not testing for edge retention. I'm just making sure nothing crazy is happening with the edge of the knife. And I'm trying to see how it feels while doing different tasks and how it performs those tasks. This one is super fidget friendly. You have a nice generous blade hole and you have a flipper tab, and this one has a perfectly dialed detent. Great for that reverse flicker right there. You can thumb roll it, and then you have some jumps on this flipper tab. Nice and comfortable. It rockets out, and it's nice and smooth on the way down. It's riding on ceramic bearings with a ceramic detent ball. Very, very nice. I sit here all day playing around with this one. Now, when it comes to the ergos on this one, they're just good. They're not the best. They're not great. I think it has a little bit to do with this hard angle they have behind the lock bar. You can almost see that sharp spot right there. Depending on how you unlock the knife, you can feel it also. So it's something that I don't love, but after this review, I'm literally going to take a small little diamond file or a piece of sandpaper and just knock that. I'm going to put a small little bevel there. Fits my medium-sized hands nicely, and all the stuff I did, it was comfortable. I had no crazy hot spots or anything, but like I said, I could feel that a little bit. I wish they would have at least put a chamfer on the inside, but at the price these go at $44, I'm definitely okay with that. This one is a liner lock. It has very tight lockup. I have no movement up or down, none left or right. And the access to the lock bar on this one is outstanding. I can easily get my finger in there, no problem. I'm not a huge fan of the G10 carbon fiber laminate. To me, it looks a little cheesy and it's a little slick. I think it looks decent, but if you're not a fan of this either. They have 2 other variations of this one. They have a satin blade with black G10, and then they have one with a black blade and green G10. They both look nice and they're all the same price. Quick size comparison with Ontario Rat 1 and 2. As you can see, it's a little bit longer than the Rat 2. Nitpicks and complaints on this one. maybe a little bit bigger of a sharpening choil, but like I said, you're going to get 3 or 4 sharpening, so that's very, very, very minor. The only thing that really kind of bugs me is the sharp spot behind here, but that's a quick and easy fix for pretty much anybody that has sandpaper. Not a huge fan of the laminate, but they do have just a plain G10 variation. I don't like the black blade, but they have one with the non-coated blade as well. So all those are just very minor nitpicks, and the clip's not inset into the frame. But all that said, this thing costs $44 on the early bird sale. I think that this is an outstanding buy. Next up, we have the new variation of the Kizer Assassin. I was a really big fan of the button lock Assassin. However, it's a flipper only, and I'm not the hugest fan of flippers, and I don't love button locks. This particular one now has a Nitro V steel. This is a nice medium size at 7.19 inches, 2.99 inch blade. So this is going to be legal in a lot of areas, especially the ones that have the 3 and under blade laws. I love the Assassin with the thumb studs, and this one has a clutch lock on it, so this one has the adjustable crossbar lock. I love that versatile drop point blade. I do wish they would have given us more of a sharpening choil. You can see that plunge line. Hopefully, I can see the shadows coming right down to that edge. Do have to be careful, though, because you are a little bit closer to that edge where this is stopping on the crossbar lock. I used to hate silver twill, but I have really grown fond of it here lately, and the contrast with the black G10 underneath and the black liners makes it really pop. Now, I still believe that I would have liked one of the other variations. This one comes in 3, this one, and you can also get it in Ultim or PEI with a satin blade, and then my favorite, the blue micarta with the satin blade. They're all nice, and they're all the same price. The Assassin, being that it has a clutch lock, is coming in at $69 on the early bird sale, and I don't think that's a bad price. Next up, we have the Kizer Infinity, and this is my first time ever having one of the Infinity models, but boy, if this thing had a thumb stud, it would have probably been one that I carried even more than I did. This one's the most compact of the ones that I'm showing today at 7.03 inches, so just a little bit shorter than the Assassin. It has a 3.09 inch blade though, so the blade on this one is a little bit longer than the Assassin, and once again you have that Nitro V steel and that super thin .098 blade stock. I was very impressed with the slicing capability of this one, and I think that's because it has like a slicer grind on it. You have a little bit of a flat up until about right in the middle of the blade, or a quarter of the way up, and then it goes into a full flat grind. So this thing's ground nice and thin, and mine has an 18 degrees per side edge bevel on it. So to say it sliced great is an understatement. Not to mention you have that low tip. It's sitting a little bit below the center line of the scales, so I can easily get it down into some material to do drag cuts, detail work. In-hand cuts are going to be excellent because you got enough straight edge. Cuts on a flat cutting surface, you can use that belly. When I did the sisal rope on this one, it glided through the sisal rope outstanding. It might have been the best slicer of this bunch whenever I did the testing, because it was just very easy and enjoyable. I would say they all probably had about that same hair shaving sharp edge. This one probably has the best sharpening choil. You can see the plunge is pushed all the way to the back right here, so you can have tons of sharpening life before to widen up at the heel. And then look how thin and needle-like that tip is. Whenever I was doing the drag cuts through that leather that I do, it didn't even feel like there was anything underneath there. Not to mention, whenever I carried this knife, I would forget it was in my pocket because it's like 2.7 ounces. Now this is flipper only. You have jimping on the flipper tab, and it's got a very satisfying flip to it. Nice break to the detent. Those ceramic bearings are nice and smooth. Even though you have a nice thin, lightweight blade, you still have a fairly drop shut knife. Not that that matters at all to me, but you know, just letting you know it's still nice and smooth, and it's going to break in more the more and more I use it. Lock up, super tight. I can flex side to side just because it's so thin, but no movement in the pivot area. No lash on any of these, and access to that lock bar is outstanding. When it comes to nitpicks, I don't love the plain black blade. I don't love the laminate, and the clip's not inset. However, this one comes in at $44 at the early bird sale. $44. If this one does it for you, I would definitely pull the trigger. I think it comes in 2 different variations if I remember correctly. I'll pop them up on the screen. Pretty sure there's a non-coated one, and all in all, at 44 bucks, yeah, it's a no-brainer. And it's funny, the Kizer Crocodile's next, and this was my least favorite. I guess because it's just a clip point. I'm not a huge fan. It just looks a little funny to me. But there is some really good to this one. This is the biggest, coming in at 7.99 inches. It has a 3.45 inch clip point blade of Nitro V. Same super thin blade stock. My particular variation has the black coated blade and it looks like black burlap mic. I could be wrong on that one. Definitely is another variation of this one. It's a black blade, and being this is a Crocodile, the other variation comes with green textured G10. It almost looks like crocodile skin on it. This one is just smooth. Not sure why they didn't put any kind of texturing on this one. This one also has a excellent sharpening choil because they brought that plunge back to about right where my fingernail is. So as long as you don't put some extra pressure right here, it shouldn't flare up for a while. Nice and lightweight because it's streamlined, coming in at 3.24 ounces. This one performed very, very well. You got the tip-up deep carry reversible pocket clip. Once again, it's not inset into the frame. The action is outstanding and nice and smooth, even though it has that very lightweight blade. All in all, even though this is my least favorite, I still enjoyed it quite a bit. Now, this is a Kizer Veritas. This is the more premium version with the tie scales and the S35VN. Now they have a more affordable version. I just don't have one of those. I'll probably buy one though because it's such a good knife. There's 3 different variations. They have an Ultim version with a black blade. They have one with black G10 and a black blade. And then they have one with the G10 carbon fiber laminate with the satin blade. And they're all coming in at $69 with the Nitro V stainless steel. So I think that was a very, very smart choice on Kizer's part because this is a popular knife that I truly love. And then the last one that's in the early bird sale, I just didn't do any extra testing with it because I've already tested this knife like 3 times. And that is the newest variation of the Comorant. This one has the pink and black G10 black Nitro V blade, and it's coming in at $69. I don't know if that's the cheapest Comorant yet, but one thing that I will say is, unless you love grippy G10, you gotta that's something you definitely need to be aware of because this is the grippiest G10. Or not the grippiest, but it is definitely, if you've ever owned an Emerson, it is definitely up there, in my opinion, with the Emerson knives. If you or your wife works in an environment to where you need a knife that it's not going to slide in your hand, this is a great option, and that deep hollow grind is such a slicey blade. Well, that's going to do it for today's video. This is the order that I carried them and that I enjoyed using them. The Bulldog is my number 1. Followed by a close second to the Helmet and the Assassin. And then I did not realize how much I would enjoy the Infinity and the Crocodile. And then, of course, you know, the Comorant's been around for a long time. And I'll just throw up the Veritas as a placeholder for the more budget-friendly one. Like I said, I will have all these linked down in the description. However, if it's before 9 Central Standard Time today, then it will say sold out. So please, please pay attention to that. Like I said, if you already plan on buying one of these and you want to help support the channel, you can use my links. No big deal if you don't want to use them. That's cool. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave those down below. I hope everyone else having an absolute amazing day. I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.